Meetings have been going great, and people are loving them. They're just really enthusiastic about the fellowship. There's a lot of people that came to our first one and have never missed one since.
There are a lot of people on this call. This is so fascinating.
Dorothy Buckler, and I have 16 horses. I know that's too many, but what can you do?
I heard about you guys through a Facebook ad, and just thought it was an awesome thing. And I'm always trying to share more about God and what he's doing for me anyway, so it fits in perfectly.
I'm actually in Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
Victor Mathis, charter member, mentoring with horses out of East Tennessee.
And so we've talked about having a name choice contest. So maybe we will.
Yeah.
He is a licker. You see him licking me?
It's a cool shirt you're wearing.
Yeah, I know, isn't it? I just got it this week. I ride mostly English, some hunter jumpers, dressage, trail riding, basically reliving my childhood.
And I think in order for us to be made in the image of a spirit, John says, God is spirit. Those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth.
And this is worth double points. How many horses did Solomon have? If you're ever wondering, hey, did I actually do that? If you just scroll down, it'll give you sort of a feed, kind of like on Facebook, of every single thing that you've done.
She would like to boss them around. You're right. Here's the one that stopped the truck.
I heard about it on Facebook, and I'm really excited to just share the love of Jesus and the love of horses.
Ranch patterns and trail riding, and just really enjoying horses with some really good people. So
I've got to get my show points going. I've got to get with that. And I love your shirt, but we need an English rider.
Yes, I'm going to talk about that.
And this is my first time on with you guys, and I'm not a member. I'm just learning about your group. So
all right. Well, welcome. Who's this?
This is the neediest cat in the world.
It's the biggest cat in the world, unless you are a very tiny person.
Gotten away from God a little bit, and I'm glad to I've been looking at your association for a few weeks and decided, kind of join the meeting and see how it all was. And you guys are very welcoming, so it's awesome.
We're very glad to have you.
We're glad you're here.
I got to have a little praise report. My phone notifies me, and we just had a new notice come across the top of my phone that we have a new member has signed up for the Christian Horse Show Association. And that's a thrill every time that happens. This association is going and growing, and God's hand's upon it, and the anointing is building. I think these Zoom meetings are really adding to the fellowship. This is not just an unknown organization that you read about online. These are real people who love God and horses just like you do.
I was just sitting here realizing that the horse that I grew up with, riding and everything, my own horse, was born right in this area, right in here. I remember being there when he was coming out. And never did I believe or even dream at that time that I would be where I am now. I did not grow up in a Christian home. My parents were very moral. They taught me a lot of good things, but nothing about God. And I was never in church with them until I was 24 and asked them to come to church with us for Christmas. And so where my life has come through these years is just an awesome dream. So I fell away from being with horses after we got married. We moved to town, and my husband loved horses also. But we had other things, like we were 18 and 19 and married and had college and everything else. And so years later, after we had kids and then we had grandkids, and we started buying our grandkids horses for a drill team, and that got us back into horses. And so we each have a horse, and we're loving that. And I'm really loving where God has brought me. Last Thursday, I popped in real quick because I was on my way to a sorority party. The Lord has not only called me to follow him, but then he called me to be a clown, which was quite of a shock for a lot of people, that I would be a clown, and especially a Christian clown. but he's brought me through a lot of different things and trained me. And so I was going to a sorority thing at a place called The Tap, which is it's a bar and restaurant, and it's a big place where a lot of things of that sort happen. And it was an awesome night because there were so many kids, the college students that I was interacting with and being able to give testimony to them. They were, when they tell you that the young people of today don't know God, they don't know some of the ones that I have met. And it was just really a good time to be able to share with these young people in an environment that you would not think would be a good place to be doing that. But it's where God has led me. And like, I've gotten to go on several different mission trips, and this last one was really a blast. Sometimes it was really kind of hard. But yeah, life, you have your ups, your downs. Richard, can I share my screen?
Absolutely. Oh, I think I have to give you permission to. Hang on one second.
Right.
Okay, try it now.
Okay, I have to go down to exit full screen so I can get my screen up. There we go. Can y'all see that?
Not yet.
Not yet.
You got to select the screen and then you got to hit share again.
Okay. So that means I have to go back. Boy, they don't make things easy on here, do they?
You need kids to show us how.
That's right. Okay, share. Okay, maybe this is going to be too hard for me.
Then click OK.
I thought I made it so easy so I could do it.
Yep. No, you click on, you see the share button down in the middle?
I did that already.
Okay, but then when you click on that, it should pop up a screen and it'll ask you what screen that you want to share. And then you have to click on that screen that you want to share, and then you have to click OK.
I want to share my photos, which would be under documents.
No, you just share your entire screen.
No, well, I can't.
That's the easiest. What?
Okay. Desktop 1?
Yep, that'll work.
Okay. Share.
Yep. And then click OK. Down at the bottom, there's a blue button. There's a blue button down at the bottom that says OK once you've selected it.
Oh, I don't think I'm doing it right. Okay. Never mind.
All right. Well, maybe you can post if you email me, is there something like, is there a specific photo or is there a bunch of them, or
well, this one is just one of the fun ones. There was a place where we arrived on Friday night after 17 hours of airplane riding. And so we got up on Saturday morning and immediately we're in costume and going out to minister.
and this is in Budapest.
No, in Sofia, Bulgaria.
Bulgaria. Why do I have such a sorry? In Bulgaria.
That's okay. Sometimes my husband and I just sat and looked at each other and said, how did we get here? Never, ever would we dream that we would be where we were at the time and experiencing the things that we were experiencing. It's like you put your life in God's hands and you never know where you're going to end up at.
Yes.
And so we went to a gypsy neighborhood. And it was one where a lady had started doing a Saturday morning Bible study for kids. And so she thought it would be really good for us to come. And they had started when we got there and they just didn't have very many kids. And they said, oh, why don't you sit out here and do your face painting and balloons and we'll see how many more kids we get. Well, I think we tripled the number of kids because that's what happens. They see what's going on, they go back and they tell everybody else, then everybody else comes, and so then they ended up with a whole house full of kids. And then I was able to present the making Noah's Ark and the rainbow, and how God gave us the rainbow to tell us how much He loves us. And so that went all great, and we fed them pizza. And then in the afternoon, we went to another area, and we ministered there, doing our face painting and balloons. And Sunday morning, we had church at one place in the morning and church in the afternoon in another place. My husband got to preach that morning, and I went outside and face painted the kids, and again did the thing with them. And there was a manifestation that happened during the service that I was like, oh, I missed out on, the fun stuff. I was having fun with the kids. And then the rest of it, we did some traveling. We got to go to Philippi. We stayed down in Thessaloniki, so we went down to Greece. And then we went to Philippi. We saw where they say Paul was in prison. I didn't go down to actual that part because it was very steep and hard to walk on. But we stood in one of the amphitheater things, where they have the fights and all that kind of stuff for the Christians. And then we saw ruins of the area there. Then we went on to Berea and saw where supposedly Paul preached from, these 3 stones. And so my husband stood on that, and we took his picture, and we kept him from preaching because he loves to preach. So that was some of our fun stuff we got to do. And then we got back into the really serious.
Is that where you preached so long that the kid fell out of the window?
I don't know. It was, I don't know, it could have been because, where it was, it was all, I don't know.
How cool to be able to, like, just literally stand at some of the same places that, Paul and those guys stood.
Yeah, that's the reason my husband wanted to stand in that spot. But that was kind of an encouragement stuff for us. And then we got back into our ministry stuff. One place we went into a Muslim neighborhood where, the gentleman that we traveled with is Zoro, and he has established different works throughout these areas where the Lord has called him to go. And so we're there to help encourage the people that are there, and he's there to, check up on them like Paul did. He established works, and then he goes back and he checks. So it's a really great thing of how he does that. And so this was a Muslim neighborhood that one of the couples that he works with, they're Christians, and they're the only Christians in this area of probably about 3,000 Muslims. And they are refugees. They have come from the countries in that, lower areas to get away from the war and stuff like that in their countries. And so they are refugees there. And so some of them are very rich because they could bring all their stuff with them when they came. Others are very poor. And while we were supposed to go up to a certain place and drive up there, but we couldn't drive because they were having this huge Muslim wedding. And if you've never been to a Muslim wedding, it's very, very loud, and it goes days, and it's just a lot of commotion and like I say, very loud. But they said we couldn't drive up there because of that. But the guy says, it's too far for you to walk probably, but I can give you a ride on the back of my motorcycle. If do you think you can do that? And I went, I think I can. So I got the chance to ride on the back of a motorcycle, through the streets of this Muslim community. And, their streets are not like our streets. These are, like tiny streets.
Were you in full clown regalia while you were doing this?
Yes, I'm in my costume.
That is awesome.
And so, he's sitting on the motorcycle, and I'm just going, what do I do? And so they pull the little stirrup things down, and it's hard for me to get my leg up over. And so I finally managed to do that. And so I said, "What do I do?" They said, "Hold on." So I put my arms around him, and all of a sudden he went whoom, and I went yeehaw. And from
Hey, Marcia, I'm anxious to say it's a good thing your legs are the same length now.
Yeah.
She received a miracle on our Zoom call a few weeks ago where somebody prayed for her legs to even up and her spine to be straight. Is that what it was? And she received that miracle, and it enabled her to do better on her trip.
Yes. And so we were, at first I was just enjoying it. And then I realized that the full force wind and my false eyelashes weren't going to work out right. So I kind of tucked my head behind him, but I was looking out to the side, and the reaction on people's faces of this guy that they know, who's very outspoken to all the people and everything else. And there's this guy with a clown on the back of his motorcycle. And I said, "You're never going to live this one down." So that was kind of like my most exciting moment of the trip. But we finally got up there, we started face painting, and we painted, and my guys were doing the balloons and everything. And I figured out I probably painted over 100 faces in 3 hours.
Wow.
Which is pretty remarkable. And we had toilet paper stuffed in our ears because the music was just so loud. But in talking with some of the older kids and stuff, one kid admitted that he's a Christian, and then there was a girl there, and she says, "Well, I'm Muslim," and my friend talked to her, and she said, "Or so you're a Muslim?" She says, "Well, I don't go to church. I'm just born Muslim, and that's just by tradition I am Muslim," that kind of thing. And so my friend was able to talk to her about, well, the one true God has his hands on you. And, so she was talking about wanting to come to the States. So she's already offered her, to come, get in contact with her, and she'll help her, because she wants to pursue a better education here. So that was really exciting time. And our last visit was, we went out to see, I'm going blank in my mind, the gypsy camp, and it was different from the other ones that we had visited. This one, as we turned off the main road to go up to the village, it looked like we were driving into the dump, because there was just trash everywhere. And driving down the streets, there's just trash everywhere. And the buildings are all, they're older. That country has been around, and some of those buildings are probably 400 and 500 years old. And probably the houses they're living in are at least a couple of 100 years old, and made out of bricks and stones and stuff like that. And so wood that's deteriorated. It was very sad. And painting their faces was very hard, because they were just, their faces were dirty. And I didn't have time to clean them before I painted them and stuff. But there's a guy there that's working. He has a soccer camp and a soccer program that he does there. And so it's really neat how he has that contact with the kids, so that he can, feed into them and help them. And also, for my devotion, something that I have learned is I do balloons. And there's this is the kind of balloon. Can y'all see that one? I hope you can see that okay. I use these kind of balloons. These balloons are made for twisting and shaping and making things out of. Most people are familiar with the round balloons, because that's the kind you use to play with and stuff like that. And they also, for decorations, you put helium in them and they float. So it's like us people, and the cat decides to join in. We people are made differently. We're different shapes, we're different sizes, different colors. But God has a purpose for each of us. And just like these balloons are made with a purpose. But this balloon is a balloon. And it's not going to reach much of a purpose if it just stays like that. So it's like people were just like I was before I got saved. I was happy. I was okay. I didn't need anything. I was just fine. But then I got to know these Christians at this church where this guy kept calling us on Saturday night saying, "Are we going to church tomorrow? I'll be there at 9 o'clock to pick you up for church." And my husband and I would look at each other, and this guy is a great salesman, so my husband couldn't say no to him. So we started going to church because he would come and pick us up and take us to church. Because we probably wouldn't have gone if he hadn't done that.
That's awesome.
So that's a thought right there. Who can you be picking up in the mornings on your way to church? Okay, this may squeak. Oh, good. But finally, I decided that I wanted what those people that I'd been around had. So I sat down one night in my car after softball game with these ladies, and they had a devotion time. We were sitting there holding hands in prayer afterwards, and I felt an electricity go through me. And so when I got to my car, I just sat there and, okay, God, I want to be yours. I want what they have. And that was it. I went from not believing the Bible was true, not even kind of doubting about God and everything else, to totally believing and totally dedicated. And so from there, okay, instead of just being a flat balloon, I became a balloon filled with the Holy Spirit. Because we all receive the Holy Spirit when we get saved. But I stayed this way for a while, where this really still isn't the purpose for this balloon. I still hadn't gotten to my purpose with God. It had to come with time and learning. I first, when I went to my first women's auxiliary meeting and they were talking about the foreign missions and what they were doing and stuff, I felt this funny feeling in my chest. And the only way I knew how to describe it was like my heart was leaping. And it wasn't until later that I got around people who explained that to me. They said, if your heart's leaping for something, that's what God has planned for you to do. And I went, oh, okay. So like this balloon, I had to put myself into God's hands and submit to him. And this can get kind of painful and not feel real good when you're getting twisted up and shaped and it gets noisy. But that's what we have to do in our lives. We have to put ourselves into God's hands and say, here, what do I need to do to reach the purpose that you have for me? Not the purpose that somebody else that I see, oh, look, they're a great singer. I want to be able to sing like them. Well, God didn't give me a voice so I could sing like them. He gave me a very unique talent, which is when I hear a sermon, I'm sitting there thinking, how could I illustrate that with a skit? Or how could I illustrate that using a balloon or a magic trick? So that people who don't really understand a lot of things in our theological world, but when they see it illustrated in these different ways, they think of it and they go, oh, wow, I get that. So it's like with shaping and twisting and forming, and I'm hoping that this comes out right, because sometimes it doesn't. Oh, it did. It did come out to be a heart. That's what it was supposed to do. Sometimes they don't want to totally cooperate. But then I put the most important part in the middle. So now this balloon has been submitted to me to become a cross and a heart. And which is this illustration God gave me when I was on a mission trip. So I've been using it a lot. But I really helps complete it is when there's somebody sitting there and I can hand it to them. So you think it's reached its total purpose, but it hasn't. You have to give it away. So when we learn and we develop and we do all this stuff so that we become what we think is a good Christian and we're doing what we should be doing, but we need to check and say, okay, God, is there something else that I need to be doing? Is there something else that I need to do? And like thinking of mission trips, some people say, well, why go on a mission trip? And because it's when you put yourself out of your comfort zone, you learn so much more, and you don't have to go off on a trip to do a mission. I like to live on mission so that everything I do, I'm thinking about God. I'm thinking of how I can introduce him to somebody who doesn't know him, and to encourage those around me who know him, like the young people that I was face painting for. It's just, he gives me opportunities, and I pray and I say, Lord, use me as your puppet. You put me in places where I need to be. You give me the words to say and the actions that I need to do to convey your love. Because my clown name is Charity, which means God's love for humanity. So I get to tell people that. And that was one of the things, like our second morning at breakfast, one of the girls said something about my earrings, which I wear, that are little balloon animals. And I told my husband, I said, she needs a balloon animal. Well, then we heard them singing happy birthday. The barista was having a birthday. And so I said, okay, they all need balloons. So we made balloons for them all. And the little girl that, asked me, well, what should I name my puppy? And I said, how about Charity? She said, Charity? Because she's Bulgarian. She doesn't, I said, yes. I said, it means God's love for humanity. And that way you can remember that God loves you. So that was my seed planted.
That's awesome.
And that's go forth. Be filled and go forth and be shaped.
Well, that is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. We were praying for you the whole time that you were there. We feel like we went on the trip with you. And and that is very cool. We're going to get ready for our trivia game here in a minute, but I wanted to just kind of open it up. We're going a little bit long, but we do every week. So, we'll hang out as long as you guys want to hang out. If you are going to play the trivia game, it's an app called Kahoot. It's KAHOOT.IT, and there's a link in the chat if you want to just click on that and sign up. Please put your first name and your last initial so I know who you are. If you win, we do give out gift cards to the top three winners every single week. And does anybody have any questions for Miss Marcia?
Oh, I found the picture on my phone.
Oh, perfect. That's awesome. That's great. That's very cool. Does anybody have any questions for Miss Marcia?
I would just say that I really enjoyed your story. I absolutely love that.
Oh, thank you. It's a testimony that you never know what God's going to do with somebody.
Right. I loved hearing that too. And I love your concept that we are all living on a mission field every day and we can always share the love of Jesus. But when you take yourself out of your comfort zone, it really does help you realize the only reason you are on the other side of the earth is to tell people about the Lord and minister to people.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it.
Well, I think it's important too that we stay pliable so that we're moldable for the Lord to use in his purpose and not our ways, because so many times we can do our own thing and we have to remember to let him continue to shape us, because it was so beautiful. Yes,
on the heart that didn't want to shape.
Wow. And one thing comes to my mind is that Mary was at the clinic in person, or the International Ranch Ministry Conference, and we had interacted on the Zoom meeting, but we hadn't met in person yet. And you said in your testimony that, perhaps the Lord didn't give you a voice to sing like someone else, but the Lord has given you your gift. Well, I get lots of comments, and always have through life, about my voice being so unique. And Mary was seated a few tables in front of me, and she said she heard my voice, and she turned around and she said, I know that voice. That's Dave Davis. And so my voice being unique has opened many doors in life. There's a lady who recognized my voice and said she wanted to talk to me about becoming my show secretary, and she managed my horse shows for years after that, when we just met at a big public thing. So yes, everyone's voice is unique, and the Lord has given each one of us a voice. And there's just another example of how that uniqueness does open doors. We're all fearfully and wonderfully made, and there's no two of us alike.
Amen.
I thank God for giving me a dream to keep me living right, to give my life a purpose so I can fight the good fight. Trying to be the best that I can keeps me on the right track. Now that I know that I've chosen the right way, I could never want to turn back. Now that I know that I've chosen the right way, I could never want to turn back. Jesus, I could never want to turn back.